Very good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Ajay Kumar. I am founder and executive director of SARA. And today I welcome you to the second part of our book discussion. And the book we are discussing is Unmasking AI by Dr. Joy Palvini. And in the last discussion, we discussed the first two parts of the book, which are already on the YouTube channel of the SARA. You can check definitely there. And today, in continuity, I'm going to discuss the part 3 and part 4 of the book. And all the views which are shared are my personal views. And and what I'm going to discuss with you, I will discuss in such a way so that I will not narrate the book line by line, but I am sharing parts of the book which I felt very important for the people for whom it matters, what AI can do, what AI can does in our life, and those who want to understand the importance of AI and why it is important to understand AI, right? So and it is not a paid workshop. It is this discussion is done completely for the educational purposes, and I hope when you will watch it now or later on YouTube, you will find it interesting, and I hope I am helping the writer of the book to take the teachings and the lessons of this book to a broader audience, especially in India. And with this heads up, let me start the part 3 of the book Unmasking AI. So the name of the part 3 is Rising Researcher. So now let's see what we are going to see here. So the next chapter begins with the title Crawling Through Data. And the writer wrote, digging deeper made me see that any technology involved with classifying people by, by necessity would be shaped by subjective human choices. As we saw in the previous discussion, and those who are familiar with the machine learning, the machine learning techniques need a data, and based upon that data, the models are trained so that so that AI can work. Or indirect way, we can say that AI worked, or AI systems or models tell you what they learn from the data provided to them. So if the data itself is wrong or biased, there are strong chances the AI system, the model, the algorithm will be biased. And as the author says, and when the data is prepared for AI modeling, the labeling of the data has to be done. And that labeling of the data is done by human being. And that human being, most of the time, we all have our own subjective choices, right? So if when we are labeling the data, and that time itself, the people have subjective choices and the labels are biased, then there are more chances the AI models based upon those data are going to have a biased results. That's what the author is trying to tell here. So next she says, Ki, I was somewhat surprised at how light-skinned power appeared in Caribbean nations despite their large dark skin population. So Dr. Joy was making her own data set uh, to run the AI algorithms to prove her point through her master's thesis. And she decided to study the um, parliament competition of the different nations in the world, and the representation in those parliament by color, by gender, and by race. And uh, and while doing and while preparing the data, sorry, and while preparing the data for her analysis, she found that even in a Caribbean nation where most of the population is dark skin, but in the power are the light skinned people, you know. So it means, and it happens in real world as well. It is the people whose majority is in real life society may not be reflected in a similar demographic way when it comes to the power structure of that particular nation or society. That's what our author is trying to highlight here. Now, next point she mentioned users have broad, non-specific access to their data, allowing for unknown profitable downstream use. Okay. Users have broad, non-specific access to their data, right? It means we all of us, we create data, but we ourselves, we do not have, actual access to that data. And we don't know how that data is going to be used or allowing for unknown profitable downstream use. For example, initially when social media was rise, like Facebook was coming up, Twitter was coming up, so Instagram was coming up. People are very excited to share their personal images on the social media platforms. But that time, at least in the mind of the ordinary common man, it did not occur that somebody can make money from our pictures as well. That time we just uh, happily thought it is just a platform, use it and share images of each other, like images of each other, and I comment upon the images of each other. But now gradually we are knowing that from our data, uh, companies are making a lot of profit, and not just directly. When they get ads, when they sell our data directly or indirectly, they make profit, and we do not have any say in that, so as the creator of the data, which we should have actually, right? Now next is now 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 next she highlighted one important point. AI generated images have opened up another way in which misogyny and male gaze can be used to deprive women of dignity. Now, when AI, lots of our social media data is present for the AI models to learn from that and generate images based upon that. But it is not simply the AI creating image with respect for everybody. No, it is not happening especially for a woman. And when any women try to make or generate an image with the help of AI, uh, sometimes or most of the time, the images are not respecting women as an identity, or I can say like in this particular case, what I'm getting recollecting from the book, the AI has given the sexualized images. When if somebody like a lady has given her childhood photograph and she asked AI to improve it, then as a result, AI did not only improve it, but it has improved it in a very sexualized way, which was offensive to a woman's dignity, because she did not ask to convert her childhood image into a sexualized image. So in that way as well, and you see, I hope you're able to see the connection, because the data under the AI models is biased. It is the data itself is misogynistic. The labels itself are misogynistic. That's why when somebody uh, who has no say in the creation of those labels, those data, those standard data sets on which AI is created. The models of the AI models replicated the social biasness or the social, what do you say, in real life discrimination against women or any one particular community is similarly replicated in the AI models as well, right? Like in this one particular case, AI is creating not respectful or dignified images, but the sexualized images of the women. Now, and now, when authors specifically write, at the time of writing, there are no laws that ban the generation of sexualized images of children from AI systems. So I think she was writing this around 2018. And when she's writing this book, in the US itself, there was no laws which can, ban this generation of sexualized images of children from AI systems. You see? Now, and if that is the condition of US, so we can understand what must be the scene in the global South, or especially if we talk about the India, where flow of information or the adoption of technology is very fast, but actually how that technology is having ground level impact or discriminatory results on the different people, it is yet to be understand, is yet to be debated, is yet to be highlighted, is yet to be legalized, or if I correct myself, not legalized, is yet to have proper legislation, to deal with these kind of issues. Going forward, now, the responsibility of preventing harms from AI lies not with individual users. Now you must be thinking, the author says that now if something goes wrong with AI, nobody can say the responsibility is with the users. No, it is not. Then with whom? But with the companies that create those systems, the organizations that adopt them, and the elected officials tasked with the public interest, right? So she says, because see, companies are using our data most of the time without consent. Consent means without permission, right? So if anything goes wrong, and even with permission, anything goes wrong, the arms or the responsibility is not with the individual user, but with the companies that create those systems, which are creating all the problems, and the organizations that adopt that system, and the elected officials of the government with the who have been given the responsibility that the system should not harm the public interest, or the system should work for the public interest, right? So there actually this responsibility goes, and right, so it is so we cannot say that okay, all those things only the author, sorry, only the individual person whose data is used is responsible, right? So he or she not. Now, so what we can do as individuals is share our. So now then, what as an individual our responsibilities are. So our responsibility, what the author says is, what we can do as individuals is share our stories, document harms, and demand that our dignity be a priority, not an afterthought, right? So see, once the data is gone from our hands, we have less say where it is used until we know how our data is used in a discriminatory way. But even we don't know before that, what we can do is if we can share our stories, like if something happened with you related to the AI or related to the data, and you felt that your identity is compromised or your dignity is compromised, you should share your story. That is the one important thing we can do as per the author. Tell our stories. And then document the harms. I think this is for the organizations as well as individual person or the social or the media persons. They should document these harms so that nobody will think that these harms are a single case happening in a country. If maybe they are few, but if they are happening systematically with one particular caste, one particular gender, one particular race, it means the systems are reflecting the systemic changes which are present in the society, and they are also reflected in the technology. So if we share our stories and document all those harms, then we can find what is the pattern and demand that our dignity be a priority, not an afterthought. Okay. So like what I understood from these lines or powerful lines from Dr. Joy is, uh, if something goes wrong, it should not come at a sorry, or it should not come as an apology from the AI companies, but all the things, because data is about the people, data is representing the people. So whatever we are going to interpret or showcase through the data, is it about the people? So if anything goes wrong, it what is on the stake is the dignity of the people, right? So companies should proactively be very careful that dignity should be priority and not just a sorry if something goes wrong. And that's very, very important, even I believe. I guess when somebody is listening this later on, in their capacity, they also try to tell their story if they have been victim of AI, and document the harms if they are in that, if that is their capacity or their occupation. And for all of us, we should demand dignity from the system. Right. Now, in the next in the next chapter, Arbiter of Truth, uh, as I said before, uh, when scientists are preparing, or when the organizations are preparing data for the AI models, they have to label the data, right? And what she says about, what Dr. Joy say about this, the labels represent what machine learning researchers called ground truth, which means the labels are extremely important, because what label is given to the data or the images, and they especially use the image because now Dr. Joy was especially working upon the face recognition techniques, and to tell face to show face recognition techniques are biased and they have flaw, especially when we talk about the colored female. She was conducting her own research of master's thesis, and she was preparing her own data. And that's why she was saying, while doing this data labeling work, she understood what machine researchers call as the ground truth, because what they what label they are putting to those images, that should represent the ground truth. So that makes the labeling very, very important. Now, now she explains, if something goes wrong with the labeling, what could go wrong? So let's read. So for example, if you decide to, I think it is not sue, it should be use. Okay, I'll just note it down, so I will correct it later on. Is slide number 38 and correct this sue. It's not sue, it should be use. Okay, so for example, if you decide to use binary gender labels, so male and female, and use them on a data set that includes only the faces of middle-aged white actors. Okay, so she's trying to create a situation, and now she's actually telling you how the data was created for AI models. What they do, for imagine that you have images in front of you, and you have to give the label and of gender label, and you make only two labels, male and female, and that data have middle-aged white actors. The system is precluded from learning about intersex, trans, or non-binary representation. Now you see how important labeling at the data level is, because if you are a person in power who can do the labeling, but you think there are only two genders possibility in the world, that is male and female, then you are going to put everybody only on the male and female, male and female. But in that way, you are excluding a lot of people who identify themselves as trans, who identify the intersex, and who also identify themselves as born non-binary. So but because we know all these identities are there in real life, but in the data, they will be missing, these identities will be missing if you will label the data only with the binary point of view, male and female, right? So now will be or non-binary representation and will be less equipped to handle faces that fall outside its initial binary training set. The classification system erases the existence of those groups not included in it. I think that is very, very precisely beautiful line. So if while the time of labeling the data, if your group label is not marked, then it means you have been erased. Your identity as a group is erased or you are not included in that classification system. And then in that case, either you will be misclassified, you are wrongly recognized, right? And your dignity will be compromised. So that is the importance of labeling the data with the data which is further used for the AI models. I guess it making sense. Yes, of course, right? So now let's come to the next point. Now, a computer vision system cannot observe how someone thinks about their gender because the system is presented only with image data. It is the same point which we discussed just now. Because see, when somebody is look at our face from with the help of technology, and the technology which is used for the facial recognition is called as computer vision system. You know, they don't know about the gender. They know what has been coded inside this computer vision system or the face recognition thing, because the system is presented only with the image data. So they don't know male, female. The system, the technology doesn't know male, female, or the binary or non-binary, or the interest in trans. System only is present with the data, right? The image data. How we label them, that actually educate the technology, right? And as the previous point says, the person who is in power of labeling, if are not they are not aware, or maybe aware, but because of their subjective biasness, they think it is not that important to include other than what they think should be included, then maybe knowingly or unknowingly they will be creating a biased data set which will be having millions of images, and that will be used by a lot of AI technologies. Right? Now, for machine learning, data model is destiny because the data provides the model with a representation of the world as curated by the makers of the system, right? So representation is fantastic, important word here, because for machine learning model, data is destiny. What type of data you will give to the models, they will going to show you the world is like that because they have fed that data. Now, because the data providers, the model with the representation of the world as curated by the maker. So it's very important who are the makers of the system, who are the makers of the technology, who has a power to label the data or to tell how to label the data, right? So, and that is where, our institute, SARA, is also trying, SARA Institute Data Science, where we are working, and this talk is part of their book club. We are also trying to democratize data science so that data science coding companies will have representation and of the people from marginalized section, so that when these technologies are formed, they can have their say. Otherwise, most of the people who are who are already on the margins, they will either be misclassified or they are maybe completely erased from these, classification system, and then they will be are either wrongly identified or not identified as at all. Now, when ground truth is shaped by convenient sampling, grabbing what is most readily available and applying labels in a subjective manner, it represents the standpoint of the makers of the system, not a stand-alone objective truth. And that, when Dr. Joy went in detailed research behind which data set, which are called as the gold standards of those AI models, which data is it, how it is collected, how it is labeled, then she found that the most of the data is just a convenient sampling. The data which was readily available about some famous people, and they took the data and they fed that data to AI model. And as she said in her book, nicely, the data is not look like a gold standard, it's look like a pale data, because it was because it was missing people of color, and it is more and more the most of the data included light-skinned male people, right? So we should not go just for a very convenient sampling when people are on stake. Next. Now she says, it was still painful to know that I was considered less than by some simply because of my skin color. Yes. And yeah, this was her personal experience. What she was experiencing as a master's student at MIT, that it was still painful to know that I was considered less than by some simply because of my skin color. Yes. And it is the same pain. And I quoted this because it is the same pain people from marginalized communities face in India every time when they go to the Allied Institute, or when they are labeled just as a reservation candidate and not seeing their work, of course it is painful. So now we can't assume that just because something is data driven or processed by an algorithm, it is immune to bias. Labels and categories we may take for granted need to be interrogated, right? So after doing the deep analysis or the understanding of the data based upon different big companies, like the names, I'm not going to what do you say, um, remove the fun of knowing what those companies are. You should read that book to get more understanding which companies she studied. But she says that we cannot assume that just because data driven, yeah. So please understand this point. If somebody say this is data driven or processed by algorithm, it is immune to bias. So we, all the people in India, and especially those who will watch it later, all my friends in sociology, political science, economics, management studies, or policy making, rural studies, understand this. We need to challenge this. If a government or organization simply says that the decision is data driven or algorithm based, we should understand from this book that algorithms and data are not immune to bias, because the data labeling which is done and which decides how AI models are going to run uh, uh, can be subjective, and we need to check what labels and what categories have been assigned to those data, right? So we need to check those things. Okay. Now, Dr. Joy has published a very important study with the name of Gender Shades, and which was her master's work. And let me read this line first. The shadow of tech giants touched all aspects of the AI research ecosystem. When she wrote this paper, this line she mentioned in the context of when she was writing something and highlighting the big tech companies what is wrong with their systems, but she has to be very, very careful because her education and the many students' education and funding come from those tech giants, right? So she has to be, that's what you mentioned, the shadow of the tech giants touch all aspects of AI research ecosystem. So she what I can imagine after reading this chapter and so far is uh, she knew, Dr. Joy knew the importance of her work, but at the same time, what she mentioned in initial chapter, she also just do not want to be recognized as an angry black woman, but people should see her work, understand her logic, and she want to tell things can go wrong and but maintaining uh, or or what do I say, not rocking the boat too much, you know. So that's what she was experiencing while she was putting forward her study gender shades. Okay, so now yeah, let's read it. Then based upon that, I will share. Subsequent studies showed that pedestrian tracking systems were more likely to miss detecting people with darker skin that those then I think there are a lot of typos. I'm sorry here, but I will correct them in the final notes. Okay. Uh, okay. That then those with lighter skin. When applied to self-driving cars, the result would be that people with darker skin were at increased risk of being hit by a car with automated driving capabilities fully engaged. So you see what she's trying to say, and what I'm trying to make a point here is there is a data which is conveniently collected about lots and lots of people, but data is not representative. It is most in this, especially in this book's context, the data is missing people of colored. Most of the people are white, light skinned, as the author says, light skinned, and the labels are not appropriate. So when this data is given to the AI models, the models are also going to replicate those biases. Now, if those models and AI technologies, for example, here, if is used by a self-driving car, then car is not going to see a person properly if it is a person of color, and the person, right? So it means because the data itself is biased, it is more about the white. So when this same model is used in the car, so the car may not see a person of darker skin, and it may hit that person, right? Because the in the right, I guess able to make my point. So that is what, or wrongly identify it, right? So that is what she is worried about, and that is what her concern was, that the data is replicating the biasness from the society, but not representation, or the data is not representing the society as it is, right? That's why the what she says in her paper, gender shades, the results are going to be biased for the darker skinned people, and especially for darker skinned black women. Right. Oh, yeah. So I mentioned the names here. So the results of the phenotypic analysis showed that overall Microsoft, IBM, and Face++ did better on lighter skin faces than darker skin faces when it came to guessing the gender of a face, right? So she used the AI technologies of the Microsoft, IBM, and Face++, and she gave them the task to identify the gender of the images of a data set, and and the system was able to identify correctly for the lighter skin, but not for the darker skin, right? And because the data in which Microsoft, IBM, and Face++ AI technologies are working, that itself is not representative, that was biased. The labeling as well as the representation of the data. Now, I found that for female labeled faces of type 6, error rates were up to 46.8%. What is this type 6? Type 6 is like skin color, she had given type 1 to 6. 1 means light skin, very, very light skin, and type 6 means darkest. So she was saying that if the image is of a person of color and that to a female, the error rate goes up to the 46.8%, is almost 50% of the time the technology is going to be wrong if there is an image of a black female, right? So 40% of the time, almost 40% of the time, the technology is going to be wrong. So now let me try to I'm not an expert of caste studies. The people who understand caste structure and caste studies, they can tell it better. But I'm just assuming if this similar biasness is also happening in the data of the AI models which ran in India, and is there any possibility that because that for like in India, caste works with the surnames and also with the color as well up to an extent, and but I don't know. I'm finding myself helpless that how AI could be discriminatory in the context of caste-based discrimination when we talk about India or South Asia. Um, but I'm doubting it could be because again, the representation from the marginalized community in the tech power structure, even in the global South, is very, very less, and especially very, very less when it comes to the women. So I wondered if the similar research could be done in the context of caste, what results it could be. Right now, I'm not even able to frame a question like how, which part of caste, uh, according to that, the algorithms could be discriminatory. Surname, one I can think of immediately because with the surnames, immediately we can pick up whether the person belonging to a Swarna or what you call as the upper caste or without surnames or without typical surnames, they are belonging to the marginalized communities. But we yet to see, based upon India-based research, and whether how is data in India or AI models in India, and how are the things actually happening in India in the tech, right? But that's why the purpose of doing this discussion, that somebody might see this and maybe it in their capacity and to understand it better how caste angle can be found or I read a few papers. Yes, there are studies which are working upon it, but I think still we yet to see some good books which have studied technically how data is biased when we ask the caste question in India. Okay. Now, the common thread was that the deep learning techniques being used to create gender classifiers were also being used to create systems to attempt to identify a unique individual or detect skin cancer, right? That's what the concern is. The similar techniques, the way, she is identifying the gender, the similar techniques are used to identify a unique individual, like somebody who's a criminal, is a unique person, the similar thing. So if the technology cannot identify the gender correctly, I have now even I have big concerns. How can that technology can identify the person that yes, this person is exactly the same person which police is looking for or the government is looking for, you know? Or in another case, or detect a skin cancer. It may fail to detect a skin cancer in the case of colored person, but it works better in the case of a light skinned person. So these are very, very serious questions. I guess it is not just getting a job. It is a matter of medical care. It's a matter of complete opportunities, which may go away from the hands of the people who are already on the margins. So, right, so it is not, yeah, it is something really very, very important. And that's why I guess I'm doing this discussion, right? So I did not want to minimize the impact of misclassification. I'm not able to recollect now. Why did I include? I did not want to minimize the impact of misclassification. Yes, so misclassification is a big thing, and let me go further than I understand. So there were, in some ways, just doing their job in the ways they had been trained to do. But when just doing your job can mean someone else's life, chances are at stake, life chances are at stake. There has to be a higher standard. Okay, so what she was trying to say here, right, is the end of this chapter. She understand the people who are doing this work, like writing the labels and making these algorithms. They have been trained to these things in such a way. So that's why she felt there is a need of an education for them as well. But her concern is also there that when with your data labeling someone else's identity, someone else's life is at stake, then the standard, especially the data standard, should be very high. The labeling standard should be very high, so that the chances of making error should be less. Okay. Now, by this time, I guess by reading the till reaching this till this chapter, Dr. Joy was attending conferences with the big academicians, and when you will read the book, you will feel like you are experiencing all the things again when you read that it has been written such a beautiful way, so engaging the reading is. Today when I was reading back to back, I really, for a moment, few moments, I felt, I am just next to Dr. Joy and everything is happening with me simultaneously. And she has written, it's a complete 100% commitment, engagement with emotions, complete complete representation or her of her this journey has come through in this book, and I strongly, strongly recommend that everybody should read this book. Okay. So next point is, uh, yeah, someone said this to Dr. Joy, that you are some of the world's smartest people, making some of the most powerful tech. It's not technology, it is technology. So I'm just noting that the slide number, so I will correct it. Okay, there are typos. Okay. So most powerful technology known to mankind, you should use it for good. You should tackle the hardest problems. And this is an immense opportunity. It was a comment, I guess, somebody gave to her at one conference or some dinner, I guess. And she was thinking about it deeply, that people are looking towards the people who has the power to, make some change. Now, existing AI systems with demonstrated harms are more dangerous than hypothetical sentient AI systems because they are real. Okay, this is extremely important part. Whenever we talk about the AI, most of the people come up with a hypothetical situation. The AI is going to take over the world, and AI is going to end all human being, and then the machines will rule, right? So on this, Dr. Joy has a very beautiful take, and I completely agree with that. We never know those hypothetical situations will occur or will not occur, and when will they will occur. What we do know right now, that there are AI systems which are demonstrating harms and which are dangerous. So what we need to talk, whenever people will try to take you towards the hypothetical situations of AI, please drag them again to the real problems which we are facing right now, due to the biasness in the AI and the technology. Right now, she says why. Let's read very interestingly. Though it is tempting to view physical violence as the ultimate harm, war, physical violence, doing so makes it easy to forget pernicious phase, our societies perpetuate structured violence. Okay, structured. Yeah? So it is tempting to see that blood, physical violence, all those things. But doing so makes it easy to forget. When we talk about all those machines will rule, and it will be like AI and machines fighting with human being, all those hypothetical and things. But that may be easy or tempting or maybe entertaining, but it is easy to forget the pernicious ways our society perpetuates structured violence. Structured violence, a term from the John Galton coined the term to describe how institutions. Now, what is structured violence here is by the John Galtung, that structured violence describe how institutions and social structures prevent people, who institutions and social structures, not the machines. So please, again, whenever somebody says ki AI is going to kill all of us, and that's why we should not promote AI. No, that's not the right argument, I guess. And I agree with Dr. Joy here. And I also learned this from her. The right way is to drag your attention and resources and fight how AI is harmful right now, how it is replicating the structured violence in society and replicating the same violence through the AI and AI technologies. And it is now through the help of AI institutions and the social structures preventing people from meeting their fundamental needs, thus cause harm, right? So like, let imagine I'm a student of first generation and my need is to get a fellowship, but now because of any AI flaw, my name or my application was just not even considered, for that fellowship. So that is a structured violence executed on me as a student because of my social category, right? So this is more to, we need to talk more about the structured violence due to the AI and latest technologies, and not talking about some superficial hypothetical situations going to happen in the future, right? Then machines will become alive. Hmm? So denial of access, it's very important here. Denial of access to healthcare, housing, and employment through the use of the AI perpetuates individual harms and generational scars. AI systems can kill us slowly. I'm very, very sorry for this typo. It is not kiss us slowly, it is kill us slowly. It's page number. I'm just noting down. Okay. So we have to be very, very careful, and this AI system can kill us slowly and replicating the structured violence through the AI. So these are the more important and urgent issues which we need to talk when we talk about the AI, not whether the AI will make machines alive and then the humans will extinct. No, that we don't know, right? But what we know is right now AI is harmful for us, and it is denying us, especially to the people who are on already in the margins, to the access of healthcare, housing, employment, right? All those things where AI has been involved. So no one is immune. Now the last line we are reading here is, no one is immune from being excluded, and those already marginalized are at greater risk. So all my friends who will be watching it later on. So no one is excluded. Excluded is a beautiful term, beautifully written, explained in the book. You should understand. Excluded means if your representation is not in that data, you are excluded. You are have been thrown away from the AI system, AI models, and everything. So, and no one is immune to that until you are sure you are included in that models in the data. So, and those who are already at the marginalized, they are at the higher risk of being excluded. Okay. So now this, we completed the part 3 of our book. Now we are going towards the part 4, Intrepid Poet. And I will complete this as well in this sitting itself. And then we will have only the last part left, part 5. And with that, we will complete the discussion of this book. And I'm making this whole effort with within sincere, hope that somebody will read them, listen them again, and it might help somebody to improve their research questions or understanding, and it may intrigue them to ask questions which has been raised by several scholars in the West about the race, color, and gender in West. The similar questions should have been raised in the context of Indian society, global South, and the Indian subcontinent, where the one of the biggest discriminatory factors are like the caste-based discrimination, and right. So these questions has to be understood in this context as well. Okay. So I guess before going for the next topic 4, part 4 of the book, let me take a slight pause, and I will join you back in a minute, just after taking a very, very small break. Okay. Okay. Now let's move towards the part 4 of the book. The title of the part 4 is Intrepid Poet. And Dr. Joy really loved to be called as a poet of code, and I completely agree with that, because there are very beautiful line she mentioned in her book is uh, competition with compassion. Yes. And I think, and being a daughter of a artist and a scientist, she beautifully write a uh, poetry as well, and a and a very strong case for and 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 she was able to put a very strong case in a very beautiful way using the different mediums, and and we will see now in this coming chapter how actually she used different mediums, and to put her point forward, and convinced companies as well as governments, and to listen to her, and make a point that the AI is biased, and we need to unmask it, and with proper legislation we need to stop it. So now let's learn more about it. So the name of the next chapter is AI Aren't I a Woman? So yes, in the very start of this chapter, she took an example from the India, especially the system in India, which is Aadhaar system. So this system is in question, and I guess the more research has to be done technically, how risky or not risky this system is, because she, at the upfront very start of the chapter, she wrote this: did the government officials in India exploring the adoption of the Aadhaar system known about the potential for bias in the biometric solutions being offered as answers for efficient distribution of government resources and persistent identification, right? So Aadhaar has been used for the allocation of government resources and for the identification of the persons. But that's what she also raised a concern that whether our government, Indian government, know that how biased the biometric solution could be. You know, they may not identify the person correctly, because as she was identifying with the problem in the West, the colored female were not identify the technology. That's why saying it might be possible in India as well, because and India through the Aadhaar system that it is not recognizing the people correctly, and we are making Aadhaar compulsory, almost not officially, but compulsory for giving any government resources and the identification, right? So did they know algorithmic bias might deny benefits to the very people they sought to help? And maybe indirectly, when government is trying to help, they actually may deny them. What about the police departments adopting facial recognition technologies? And what about the facial tech? So, right, so she's having all these concerns for the developing country as well, where the biometric systems have been used, but is the government and are the people are know about this? You know, that's what her concern is, because from her studies in West, the biometric systems are not perfect, and they are having major errors. as she has shown in her study of gender shades, that 50% error rate if the image is of a dark skinned woman. Now, all systems tested worked worst for dark-skinned women. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So, in India also, we have many types of skin colors, and there are strong chances that it might happen in context of India as well. But then, how Indian Aadhaar system and other biometric systems will work, and it need to be studied further. I want people to see what it means when systems from tech giants box us into stereotypes, and we hope to transcend with algorithms, right? So see, we believe technology is neutral, and at least technology will not cheat the people who are from the margins, and that's what we say yet. But again, the way technology is put forward, it wants to put us into stereotypes, like only male, female, no binary, no trans, nothing, right? So like this way, so she is asking a question or raising a doubt that I want people to see what it means when systems from tech giants box us into stereotypes. We hoped to transcend with algorithms. As diverse people, we believe algorithms will help us, to reduce the discrimination and not increase it, and forced us to follow the stereotypes of the subjective people or the subjective decision makers. So AI systems can be used as tools of oppression as well as tools of liberation. All right, so that's a very bold statement, and I really, really trying to understand this key. Yes, AI tools can be tools of oppression, but also as a tools of liberation. Now, so the critique of artificial intelligence is not a lewd call to break machines, but a call to break harmful assumptions, right? So so Dr. Joy suggests, when we are saying ki understand AI, talk about AI, critique the AI, we are not saying ki abolish it or annihilate the artificial AI, but they are saying and break the harmful assumptions about the machines, thus enable the construct of better tools and, more important, better societies, right? So you see that the importance of AI is so big is, uh, if we remove, we first thing, we don't assume machines are neutral. So machines have harmful assumptions, and we need to correct those assumptions, remove those assumptions, right? And then we have to make better tools so that we can make a better societies. Now, I use my counter demos to combat assumptions about the neutrality of AI. Yes. So she has done art poem plus some her poetry plus a demo of and I think I should not share this now here. You should read this chapter, and then you'll understand what those counter demos were, and how she frame all those things, and why. I think you should read from the book itself. So now let's go next. I paint pictures using words, performance, video, and technical research to highlight the contradictions in the promises we hear about technology. Yes, that's what I was trying. She's a poet who is using words because she has written research papers, thesis, performances because she has given TED talk, videos because she has made a movie also, and technical research to highlight the contradictions in the promises we hear about the technology, right? What technology is saying, what actually they are doing. So she's highlighting all those contradictions using the different mediums, right? And the reality I and other bear witness to when technology oppressed instead of liberates, right? So that's what I think she liked to call poet of code. And see, because she's using different mediums to highlight how technology is promised, but actually how oppressing technology is. Now, okay. And yeah, in this chapter, Gates in Belgium, Dr. Joy was for a big conference invited in Belgium. And let me read this and then we'll go next. Just like algorithms confronted with individuals who do not fit prior assumptions, the human gatekeeper stood in the way of opportunity, supposedly for the safety of those deemed credible enough or worthy to enter the building. I will not spoil the joy of reading this particular incident for you, but I'll just also highlight what Dr. Joy is trying to say here is, uh, and I'm seeing this from a person coming from a marginalized community. The important information, the important spaces are logged. Information is behind uh, or kept inside uh, typical channels, and uh, and opportunities are hide behind the paywalls or the high tuition fees, or the education is hide behind the tuition fees, right? What I'm trying to say is that in society, uh, a good healthcare, a good education is behind a higher fee. In a similar way, uh, or you can say it's not just alone the fee, but also a fee, and also it has been gate kept. Means like how to say, increasing the gap between the people on the margin and where actually the opportunities are. And there are people who are gatekeeping that this should not flow to the people who are at the bottom and the people who are at the margin. And their task is to stop it. And this similar task is done by the algorithm when the AI algorithms, when the AI is biased, because they, just like in the real society, the people flow the information in biased algorithms as well, or the biased AI as well, stopped us or fit us to what already society want us to be. I think I'm able to put it in appropriate words, but it is like the gatekeeping in the real world is also replicated in the AI because the makers of the AI are biased. So a few some important line here, which I like, why not focus your, and yeah, she was discussing with somebody and then they said this important line, which I also like. Why not focus your energy in building something instead of critiquing what is not working? Yeah, it's important line for all of us. Yes. So next is in the next chapter, poet versus Aniyat in the hall. You don't make change by talking only to the people who agree with you. Again, this line is very nice. I really like this. So we need to talk also with the people who don't agree with us. So that's very important line, I felt. This next important line I like. Many people can gain technical skills. Your ability to communicate and tell a story about your technical work is what will separate you from your peers. It is what makes people see why change is necessary. So yes, storytelling is very, very important. So I want to tell to all the people who are watching this, and if you are from the technical backgrounds, it is so as Dr. Joy said, many people can gain technical skills, but our real ability is to communicate and tell a story about your technical work. What because the audience is not expert of the technical work, right? So we need to tell the results and the findings in such a way so that your message will pass and to the people, and they can make sense why actually what you're talking it is important. Okay. Now in this chapter, Brooklyn tenants, it is a case in the New York where in a society, residential society, the owner was trying to bring in the facial recognition technology for entrance to get enter in the in the apartments. So, but you read more about this in the book, but let me highlight a few things from the book here. Yes, the companies needed to change how they developed and deployed AI products. They need to change it. Yes, so we don't assume everything is correct with them. And those changes could help prevent future harm, but there was no guarantee companies would change without legislation, right? So we companies won't change those things without proper law and a rule for that. So I wanted to be closer to the ground. I wanted to help real people who were being impacted by this system. I wanted to feel like my work mattered, not because it was validated by other academics, but because it made a valid impact in the lives of the excluded. So I wrote this because two important points here. Number one, that AI harm, to stop that or to guarantee that companies are paying attention, we need proper legislation. And the second is when we get all those labels from the society as a, like a famous researcher, famous professor, big conferences, we also need to think about our work beyond that. I think what Dr. Joy also found gradually, and we all should urge or aim for that. That we should not try to get our work validated by somebody like we got highest very good citations on the research paper, right? That should not be the only parameter. The real parameter should be a valid impact on the people about whom you're talking. Are you able to do that? Then actually our work is important, not just by attending. Those are the mediums, I guess. Those are the mediums to present our work, but that should not be the aim of our work. Reaching to that particular conference, or reaching to that particular position. All those are mediums, but actual purpose is that we could have an impact in the lives of the people who about whom we are concerned, right? Okay. Next is it's like next good line. When it comes to AI systems, trust must be earned and not assumed. Yes. So don't trust any AI system, and they allow them to be earned it. So don't when say good words, good statements, don't simply start loving those companies. Now, and that's why with all her effort and all her talks, and not alone her talks, of course there are many people who are talking about AI based discrimination. Now on May 14, 2019, San Francisco became the first city to ban police use of facial recognition. Okay, after and the big credit goes to Dr. Joy's work as well. And now you see, now I think from this point, if facial recognition is banned in San Francisco, what other countries are doing, what we are doing in India, we need to raise these questions. And I hope this discussion will allow the people who are watching it or later will be watching to ask the questions, reframe their research questions with a changing situation in the society. Hmm? So like how Indian police is using facial recognition. Are we using with consent, without consent? What our law talk about it? All these concern things we need to discuss. Now, yeah, your silence will not protect you. I really like this line, and it's by Audrey, and I hope I'm saying the wrong name correctly, or Audrey, that your silence will not protect you. Right? Yes. Okay. Now, he noted the chilling effects of deploying facial recognition at protest, a threat to the First Amendment right of freedom of expression. Would you feel free to, I hope, yeah, feel free to attend a protest if you knew law enforcement would deploy facial recognition to record who attended, right? So this is a conversation between Dr. Joy and one lawmaker, I guess. And they were discussing the impact of facial recognition techniques, technology, if it is given to the police free hand. And let's say you went to a protest and they're using this technology to identify the people who are there. And, but protest is the important part for democracy. So it will be then if we know that automatically these things are happening like facial recognition who are in the protest, then you will not go to that, or you will be more afraid to attend that. Right? But it is against the First Amendment in the context of in USA, and might be similar rule in India as well, which gives you, right to speak. Right. Now, this is a slight conversation between Dr. Joy and again the legislation when they're discussing about the how the result was. So she asked which when she conducted those studies and on whom the studies were harmful. So he asked which demographic is it mostly effective on those technologies, AI technologies. Dr. Joy answered white men. Okay. And who are the primary engineers and designers of these algorithms? Definitely white men, Dr. Joy answered. So then the person said, so we have a technology that was created and designed by one demographic that is only mostly effective on that one demographic, and they are trying to sell it and impose it on entirety of the country. Okay, so you see, Dr. Joy studied a data set, right? Then the lawyer, then the person who is in command, he was asking, which demographic is the most effective? These results of AI are most effective on which demographic? Dr. Joy said, white man. And then who made this? White, definitely white man. So it means then the lawyer understand, okay, it means the people who are creating it, the system will work best for them, right? But they want to impose the system on everybody, right? So that's what my concern now from this conversation is, maybe in case of India, when we are preparing those AI models to run on Indian people, we need to check who are making them. Maybe the algorithms in India are just made by the Savarna people, and they will work best for the Savarna people. But the people on the margins, but it will be imposed upon everybody, including people on the margin. And then when technology will fail us, the Savarnas will again, they will say, because you don't have married, that's why you fail. Something like that, maybe. So I'm just trying to replicate the thing which happened in the West. And because we are replicating the same technology and trying to replicate the same technology in global South as well, including India. So I'm just trying to understand what could go wrong in context of India, right? And some of the most structural discrimination are based upon the caste in India. That's why I'm talking about caste again and again, right? And of course, it is untalked topic in India, caste, right? That's what I'm just worried. Okay, let's go next. So next is William was wrongfully arrested in front of his two young daughters and held by law enforcement overnight. Even though William was eventually released, the memory of two young girls seeing their father arrested as neighbors looked on continued to be erased. Now you see, there are many examples written in the book, but this one was really interesting. That the person name was Robin Williams, and he was using the face recognition technology. He was wrongly identified as a criminal, and he was arrested in front of his two daughters and in front of neighborhood. And this memory, the person released after one night in the prison, but this memory will not go away. The kids will have that in their memory, and it will going to haunt them. And it's difficult to erase those things. From their memory. And now it could also happen in India as well, right? So these stories, these examples need not to be thought just happening in India. Sorry, just happening in the West. There are strong chances if you're using the same technologies without checking in Indian context might happen in India as well. So then this was the suggestion given by Dr. Joy, what to do. Chairman, we need a baseline. We need something based upon that we can make decision. And what that be? Right now, we don't have a complete picture of how the federal government is using facial recognition or how organizations receiving federal dollars are using it. At a minimum, the committee should commission or a survey so we know where the technology is being used, to what purposes, and which companies are or have been selling to all government agencies, right? So that's what she suggested that particular time to the person in power. Ki yes, we for a good start, at least we should know ki how government is using these technologies and how federal technology companies are using this. So at least we know based upon some survey ki how what actually is going on, who is doing what with this technology, right? Okay. Now, this quote I took from the book because it is very inspiring. There is a movie called as Hidden Figures, and is a it is about success stories of colored women in the technology area. Everybody should watch this movie. And the quote from the book is, "I left the Hidden Figures screening room with a deep understanding that representation is vital." Right? So it's very, very important. Representation is very, very important. And that's why see, SARA is the Ambedkarite Institute. We gave priority admission to women and people from the marginalized communities because we want to represent them in the areas where our representation is less. So representation is extremely, extremely important. And then telling stories that are often hidden or seldom elevated not only corrected the historical record, but also enabled others to see within themselves the possibility to make contributions broader society would say were beyond their reach, scope, intelligence, or capabilities, right? So, it is very important when if somebody will say why to talk about caste today, why to make movies about caste today, why to talk about discrimination today, why to talk about patriarchy today, because when we talk about them, it gives a kid, a scholar, a person hope to uh, to to do something which society told them it is not in your capacity, it is beyond your intelligence, it is beyond your scope. It gives them hope that yes, you can do it. And similar hope we also got, and we started this institute. And when I say we means myself and including my all Bahujan friends and community who helped me to run this institute. And that's why I say we, because we do not have any background of running an organization in like education institute, but I want a representation of my people in this growing area, and that's why we dare, or we thought to start this institute so that we can educate and we can democratize data science education among the marginalized communities, right? So it's very important. Representation is very, very important, right? Now, next is the excluded people like Daniel Santos. Next, another example how AI could be discriminatory. He was a school teacher who received very low ranking from an automated system despite winning numerous Teacher of the Year awards. So so we need to think about the people who are excluded. If you don't fit to the stereotypes of a company, you will be excluded, right? It doesn't matter how intelligent you are, how worthy you are, and so 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 that's what we need to be very, very careful, because if the data were labeled by, or the of the data is not representative of the real society, the AI technology, which is based upon those data set, are also going to be biased and not representative of the society. And with this, I would like to thank you for watching it. And this was the second discussion of the book Unmasking AI. And in the last session of this book will be around after 15 days. And in that, we will cover the fifth part of this book. And as I see, though it is an open invitation, anybody could have joined this discussion, but other than Dr. Kiran. Thank you for coming. Nobody's here, but I am very, very hopeful that once it is on the YouTube in coming days or years, people who are interested how AI will be biased, or those who want to understand it, these sessions will be helpful for them. Okay, and again, I want to tell, kindly give your support to SARA Institute of Data Science. We, time to time, we run workshops and learn. Coding is for everyone, irrespective whether you are a sociologist, you are a economist, you are a marketing guy. We need to understand, and it becomes extremely important to understand, especially if you come from the marginalized communities, because discrimination is there, ways has been changed or are changing. And if we do not understand those new ways of discrimination, and we will be late to catch or highlight that discrimination in front of our agencies who can legalize, who can take legal stand or who can stop it. So with this, thank you so much for listening, and I would like to stop here. Thank you.